how actually النيورون receive information او stimulus عفوا خلينا نقول it's a stimulus and how it's actually send it or conduct it. وتكلمنا عن الايونز واختلافها اللي هي الصوديوم والبوتاسيوم والكالسيوم و how they each play a role, or how we talk about the resting potential, and then we talk about action potential, and then we talked about the three special grading potential with synaptic وانواعها. this is one of them اللي هي neuromuscular junction and we call shorten لها NMG باختصار. ف it's synaptic potential زي تذكرون هذا آخر جزء تكلمنا عنه في المحاضرة السابقة اللي هي 3 أنواع و this is one of them. we will talk about the neuromuscular junction. We're going to talk about the motor unit in general, الأسيدوكولين. تذكرون الأسيدوكولين من البيولوجي. We will talk about the motor end plate. This is one of them. And then the lesion-gated nicotine channels والended plate potential اللي هي اختصارها EPP. هل يسوي عفوا facilitation inhibitory ولا actual potential will inhibit ولا it will not inhibit that. voltage gated channel, and then acetylcholine strain which is what will formulate. This is not included in general اللي هي آخر شيء اللي هي mature end plate potential, but we're going to touch just base on it, but we're not going to go into very detailed amount about it. So that's why we say it's not included in general. So we will mention it, but we will not dig into deep into the mechanism of it, how it's function, and how it's actually play a part. فالنيوروماسكولار junction and motor end plate. This is what we actually defined it. It's where a motor neuron intervene a skeletal muscle cell. So motor neuron, it has to be a motor and it has to move المسل. It's a motor neuron. It's interfere at the skeletal or a skeletal muscle cell. occur at the distal end زي ما نعرف في النيوروموتور في الموتور neuron and within the muscle concept of the motor unit. And we're going to talk about what we mean by the motor unit here. Motor unit is one neuron can interfere many skeletal muscle cells. فطبعا دائما نطلق عليها وراح نتكلم بعدين على المصطلح هذا اللي هو lower motor neuron. Lower motor neurons going from our brain going back to give a signal, usually contraction ولا moving the muscle. what it actually happened, one neuron can actually interfere or invade or actually connect خلينا نقول multiple muscle cells. فعلى سبيل المثال one of the motor neuron can actually connect to a 500 of the gluteal muscle, تذكرون اللي بالرجل. One neuron can actually connect to 10 for the intrinsic and thinner muscle. تذكرون في عندنا muscles كبيرة وفي muscle صغيرة. فإذا كانت المصل كبيرة زي الجلوتال we need more connection to it, so we need a lot of زي ما يقولون space to invert أو connect. بينما إذا كانت المصل صغيرة space حقها صغير we will have a fewer. That's with the fewer with the thinner muscle. But what's the main concept is one neuron can connect to actually many skeletal muscle cells, not multiple muscle. Each muscle fiber, we call it cell, only receive one axon terminal. And this is برضو important. For what we mean by that, إنه each muscle fiber will only get one axon terminal. يعني ما يكون في 2 اكسون. اوكي، لانه لو صار في 2 اكسون تيرمينال طبعا ما تصير، لكن لو صار في بسبب جينيتيك ديفيسيت خلال الولاده، من الولاده عفوا، what we'll have a mixed signal. ممكن واحدة inhibit، ممكن واحدة actually facilitate أو actually uh, uh, push for movement. So that's why each muscle fiber will receive only one exon terminal. So this is على سبيل المثال تقريبية لها صورة. فوي have تذكرون السيل بادي. اوكي، في الاكسون this is what dendrite and this is the actual potential will go from here all the way. Okay, and you will remember if it's myelinated and non-myelinated, it's different. So this is the motor neuron and this is the muscle fiber. If you see the muscle fiber cells is like this, so each terminal axon will get into one of the cells. It cannot go into multiple. Okay, لكنها can interfere more than one cell. لكن it has to be within the same cell. طيب actual potential, we're going to talk about where is the voltage gate of the calcium. We're going to talk a lot about the calcium في neuromuscular or neuromuscular junction. We're going to talk about lead gated channel. We're going to talk about the neurotransmitter receptors. This is we're going to talk about synaptic vessels, okay, how they actually transfer. We're going to talk about the pre and the post synaptic neuron and where is the synaptic cliff بشكل عام. I will ignore هذه البيكتشر الحين because we're going to talk about them in more detail now. How does the neurotransmission عفوا neuromuscular junction work? An actual potential arrive at the distal end of what we mean by LMN. نتذكر قبل شوي تكلمنا عنها. We're gonna talk more in detail about it. Start with lower وشو؟ Yeah, lower motor neuron. So that's what we actually see. So an actual potential will arrive to the distal end. What happens when there is an actual potential? Depolarization. Okay, when the depolarization happen, a voltage gated that open the voltage gate for the calcium channel. So what we how كذا طيب I'm using the same thing. احسن كذا. I don't know and I'm using the same format. يعني ما اعطي نفس المايك ف I don't know. طيب ف we have a depolarization زي ما قلنا that open الكالسيوم channel. What happened? Calcium will flex inward داخل. اوكي، ف what will occur هنا على سبيل المثال if you see في البكشر هذه الاولى ال actual potential arrive here. هذا ال actual potential وصل. This is the calcium channel, so this will open. Okay, so what happened? Calcium will go inside. We have the presynaptic terminal here. So once the calcium open, we will see what will happen next. So just remember, opening the calcium channel when actually the actual potential happen. When that happen, the calcium will come inside the cell, okay, our neuron cell. So how does again the calcium ion become involved with what we call exerocytosis, which is process of vessels containing acetylcholine. بشكل مختصر يعني زي اللي it will release الاسيدوكولين وعملية زي الامتصاص تنزل تحت. ف what happened, because this is the calcium, they go inside, okay, here, and they open هذه الchannel, or maybe channel, more of a membrane, and then it will actually الاسيدوكولين ينزل هنا كله. فالacetylcholine will reach this, we call it cliff, but we're gonna call it differently now because it's near motor, a muscle junction. How does, again, each vessels contain a quantum of ACH. ACH نقصد فيه خلينا بس نقول اللي هو الاسيدوكولين. Okay, acetylcholine is an ACH, so I'm saying ACH, we mean an acetylcholine. So what happened is each واحدة من الفصلز هذه الصغيرة زي الفيكلز الصغيرة it actually contain an amount of ACH that about 5 to 10,000 millicurie. So this is a huge number مقارنة with the arrival of ABs. There is اللي هو يقصد في ال ABs اللي هو ال actual potential. There is a 100,000 time increase in the release of ACH. So with the ACH, with the actual potential, there is a huge increase. فلو نتذكر هنا, this is our motor neuron, this is their axon إذا تتذكرون, this is myelination to it. It goes all around and go to the muscle fiber. Inside the muscle fiber, this is the axon, هذا تكبير لها. We have a neuromuscular junction. So we have the presynaptic, it's here, and then the motor end plate region. We call it مو هو بكليف, تتذكرون كنا نقول عنه من synaptic cliff here because it's a muscle. We call it motor end plate region. We have بالصورة هذه الثالثة اللي هو synaptic vessels, هذه هي الصغيرة اللي تنقل. الactive zone اللي هي المنطقة اللي فيها فعالية. الsynaptic cliff, this is it. This is very small synaptic cliff. Okay. We have receptors اللي تستقبل الاسيدوكولين and we have the junction fold اللي تدخل الاسيدوكولين زي ما نقول to fold it inside. So this is the same picture, but it's actually يعني more realistic. But we're talking about the same myelination here, axon motor neuron, a branch of the axon. We're gonna talk about the scloma later, and you don't need to know all of these, but no, you don't need to know. This is what inside the cells, the mitochondria and everything. We talked about it before. So acetylcholine and what we call a motor end plate, we're going to talk about them now. Acetylcholine diffused, okay, across the synaptic cliff and activate about زي ما نقول 20 to 40 million receptors. Everything, we have a receptor molecular and what we call motor end plate. That's where it actually will go or receive, which is specialized portion of the, we call it cycloma اللي هي part of the skin, عفوا لا skin, a muscle, okay, of the skeletal muscle, زي الشيلد اللي فوق فأول شيء في المصل. We will see بعد شوي picture where it's actually located. The receptors are classified as lead gated for what we call nicotinic receptors. This is the synaptic cliff, okay, زي ما قلنا انه في جهة صغيرة جدا. هنا ها الاسيدوكولين contain, طبعا يجي الكالسيوم, it will release, open, and it will release, okay. We have the postsynaptic muscle fiber, okay, but we call all of this, all of it, the motor end plate, all of it. We have receptors molecular here, and these receptor molecular, they are classified as lead gated, okay. That would be important next step when we talk about what we mean by that. So this is the terminal button, this is the end plate, and this is how it fold. يشوفون الفولد, الريسبتورز حتكون هنا ها. فتوصل اسيدوكولين الريسبتور يفتح الجيتد اللي يجي gated, it goes inside and it fold here inside. فهذا هو الكليف, and this is the end plate which we call here عفوا go back, الموتور end plate. واضح so far. تمام. So we have receptors زي ما قلنا. فعندنا this is the nerve, this is the acetylcholine زي ما قلنا داخل مع الكالسيوم. أول ما يجي تفتح الجيت and we will release هذا الacetylcholine released here. We have specialized receptors. It's acetylcholine receptors. How they are closed here, they will not allow anything لأنها gate زي ما قلنا legion gated. Once they actually stick here and stick here, let me change the color. Once we have them here and here, they open. If you see, release here and here, they will open, and this will release. عفوا will actually diffuse الكلمة الأصح للICH اللي هو الأسيدوكولين. فالacetylcholine, we have two type of receptors. We have nicotinic receptors. We have the muscarinic receptors. These usually associated with the neuromuscle junction and other cells. They have a similar زي ما يقولون nicotine withdrawal effect in general. You just need to know them. You don't need to know about the detail about what they are, how they function, because this is beyond the scope of what we supposed to know. But if you have a question, we're happy to answer. بينما muscarinic, they are associated with the automatic parasympathetic. طبعا بس باختصار, this usually this is parasympathetic, this is sympathetic, okay? But just focus on one, and they actually do the postganglionic neurons and the cardio tissues, and this is important because they are really important in cardio tissue. تذكرون إذا أحد عنده مشاكل في القلب يقول لك عندك مشاكل في الكالسيوم، مشاكل في هذه الأشياء, and this actually causes some not this atrophy of the heart, especially the heart, لأنه cardiac tissues. So we talked about the legion gate, and now we're going to understand that why it looks like this or function like this. The two types of the acetylcholine receptor are associated with the gated. So when they actually happen, or the gated channel through, which usually sodium, when يعني أول ما تفتح أو يوصل actual potential and it will release, what will happen إنه الكالسيوم actually sodium initially flexed, okay, يدخل جوا الصوديوم أكثر, okay, into, and the K اللي هو البوتاسيوم flex out of the skeletal muscle. فهنا how we have a lot of K calcium, and we here have a sodium. تذكرون السبب لأنه زي ما قلنا الصوديوم will actually flex inside بينما الكالسيوم potassium will go outside because it's a lead gate. It's always open, and it just open, and it between الآيونز اللي هي الصوديوم والبوتاسيوم. So this is what actually looks happen. So here هذا calcium, okay? They open the gate here. This is the calcium gate. They will go inside. They will release acetylcholine as seen here, okay? الacetylcholine طبعا يجي زي الكليف هنا ها, والacetylcholine, this is the cliff and this is the receptors here, okay? And these receptors will have the gated, what we call legion gated. Again, if we look at it, this is what happened. You wanna get طبعا الاسيدوكولين يجي هنا ها, it will go inside. What's go inside? وش اللي تدخل؟ ال Na صوديوم. اوكي. what go outside اللي هو البوتاسيوم. اوكي. the acetylcholine will just open the gate. الكالسيوم الصوديوم will influx بينما الاوتبوت would be potassium. So هذه كلير يعني كأننا نبدأ من البداية. إذا تتذكرون this is the cell body dendrite. cell body dendrite, this is the axon hulks واللي حنبدأ فيه signals usually. This is the nucleus, the synapse إذا تتذكرون. We go back, this is the myelination, this is nodes of Revan that's go through and axial potential. It goes here, it's faster. This is the motor end plate. And if we go and look at here, we have المسل زي ما قلنا voluntary muscle. We have the synaptic gut, which is the cliff. You don't need to know a lot of these because we're going to talk about them in much more detail. The the post-synaptic membrane, we know about them. So this is, again, it's just a clear picture of how it looks like. synaptic vessels زي الحبات الصغيرة هذا اللي نقصد فيها. ف we have الأسيتيلكولين, we actually calcium will happen and then it will open, that will open the neurotransmission molecular to go inside. The same with the picture here. This is اللي هي cycloma, and there will be a clearer picture, and this is the cycloplasma, and we're going to talk, there will be, I think it's in the next one. No. So هذه gated, this is acetylcholine and this is acetylcholine. So what they do is open the gate. So what happened in A, sodium will go inside, outside is K, potassium. Okay. So this is where we're going to talk about the end plate potential, APP or APPs, because we have more than one. So yeah, it connects with the alpha usually. So it goes with the alpha, not the beta. Inside the gated, but you just need to know it's open. The K sodium goes inside, potassium, because now we're going to talk about what will happen. So when sodium enters, okay, ions to the muscle fiber, this results in depolarization, again causing an end plate potential, APPs, okay, at the motor end plate of the neuromuscular junction, okay, NGM. Same thing as an excitatory post-synaptic potential. تذكرون اللي تكلمنا عنها, you either excite all of it ولا none. So it's either excitatory or inhibitory. It's the same. However, we have a big difference here between what we talk about synaptic, وحينها راح نتكلم على neuromuscular junction. In the neuromuscular junction, it will produce an actual potential in all the skeletal muscle cells associated with that neuron or the motor unit. So if I have a signal and it reach excitability, all the muscle will contract, not part of the muscle or section of the muscle. All of that muscle will contract, that associated with the neuron or the motor unit. Okay, so all of it will actually have an excitability, will have a reaction. بينما أول ما تكلمنا أول عن السيناب, that's a section, a small section. That's the big difference when we talk about this. So we have زي ما قلنا terminal, this is the end plate, and this is the motor end plate potential muscle action. So the muscular action goes all the way into the plate, okay? All of it. So all of that would react, not a section, a small section. So the depolarization end at what we call end plate potential (APP) results in a continuing depolarization of the cycloma, and this is where adjusted to it, resulting in an actual potential along the skeletal muscles cells. This shield that will actually transfer depolarization into the whole muscle that actually connected to the motor unit. A depolarization of the cycloma occur, it stimulate what we call the cycloplasmic reticulum to release again the calcium. The excessive side of calcium initiate what we call physiological process involved with the muscle contraction. So that's what contracts the muscle. So siding of an icetin and the myostatin flames للmuscle joint to the coronal muscle. We have icetin and myostatin filament. They actually cause the contraction of the muscle. So how actually that happened? Because the excessive release of the calcium. Yes, we started with sodium, so we started with calcium into the corrugated. من البري سينابتيك رحنا للبليت اند in the plate in the end plate potential الصوديوم will play a part. Okay, either it will be excitable ولا inhibitory. إذا كانت excitable we will have an actual potential. That actual potential will go through the whole muscle that motor neuron intervene through it. When that actually happen with the excitability, because we have the cycloma, that will actually cause a depolarization to it. With that depolarization, it will add in the release of the calcium. The release of the calcium start اللي هو ال physiological process of muscle contraction, let's say. So this is where I was looking at. So this is the sheet, the cyclema sheet. You see, it's a kind of like it's not myelination, but it's a sheet similar to. So they go all the way to the muscle. What actually happened? They would when we look at them, the cycloplasma reticulum, which is here. So these small inside sheet will stimulate the muscle, and that stimulation or excitability will cause a contraction. Okay, and if you remember, this is the thin myofilm and the thick myofilm اللي هي mycilin والايستين. تذكرونها ولا لا؟ بيولوجي قديمه اللي هي بعض forgot the name، ما اتذكرها بالعربي، لكن بعضها اللي هي الثن الصغيره واللي هي thick تكون عريضه. المايسلين والايستين they will contract. That's what you need to know. انه both of them will contract because of that calcium influx. So you don't need to look at this, but this is just an overview section of it. So the plasma membrane, you don't need to know. This one is the, oh, sorry. This is the cycloplasmic reticulum, which actually have the calcium ion storage. So here we have storage and here, and if they open, we will have a contraction in general. Okay, we will have a big contraction. This is in a small section. So you see this is small, this is the bigger section, this is the muscle cell, all of it. This is the section of the muscle. So all of them will contract. لكن إذا جتني على سبيل المثال one contraction, it will actually cause all of this muscle cell to contract. This will lead to all of the section of the muscle to contract again. Okay, because as we said, when we have excitability, it will actually cause a whole reaction. خلينا نقول مقارنة في small limited reaction. ف this is just a difference between this is legend gated in the neuromuscular junction. تذكرونها في البداية كانت ليجد، بعدين بالسايكلوما it's a voltage لأنها كالسيوم so it's a voltage usually channel. طبعا بالبداية هنا ها ليجند اللي هي نقصد فيها دخول الصوديوم وخروج الكالسيوم. اوكي عفوا البوتاسيوم عفوا. بينما هنا it's only دخول او تاثير الانفلكس الزياده في الكالسيوم. اوكي that's why it's a voltage مقارنه بليجند. Legend is kind of natural to happen مقارنه بvoltage. Voltage have a signal. Okay, so we know. طيب سوينا تكلمنا عن كل هذه الاشياء، لكن طيب وش يصير بالاسيدوكولين؟ What will happen with acetylcholine? Will it be wasted? What's actually happening with acetylcholine? So within millisecond of its release from the nicotinic receptors, they actually broke down by the acetylcholine strands. And this is here. This is it. So they break it down. What happened? It composed of the acetyl and choline are broken up into the presynaptic membrane using an endocytosis process. They are reprocessed into the vehicle containing the acetylcholine. So they break them down into two components اللي هي نفسها بس لكنها الكومبوننت المختلفة لها اللي هي كولين والاسيتينو اسيد. Because this is where they break up. When they break up, they will diffuse back. Okay, and this is what we call an endocytosis. So they will diffuse back and they will stay in these what we call اللي هي vessels. Okay, اللي هي زي small spots vessels. So you have to know how what break them down اللي هو الاسيدوكولين strain or strains, and then how they break down into choline and aceto acid, and what the process that bring them back into the presynaptic membrane. It's endocytosis. So آخر شيء راح نتكلم عنه الماتور بليت potential, and we're gonna just touch base on it actually. Sorry, yeah, I remember. They deleted it. أتوقع اللي درسوا المحاضرات اللي قبل they delete all of it. So we're not gonna cover this. It's not part of your يعني exams, it's not included. So we just gonna talk about one clinical relative, myasthenia grava, and we're gonna show you a clip about it. It's a grave muscle weakness result from usually أغلبية هذه المشاكل is an autoimmune neuromuscular disease, and they are very serious, especially the autoimmune, because there is no actual treatment له للأسف، لأنه autoimmune respond البody it attack itself usually. Neuromuscular disease, the cause they caused from the communication between the nerve and the muscle is disturbed or disturbed at neuromuscular junction specifically. So give me a second, I will just put YouTube link and we will watch it together, and then you can we can finish early. If you have any question, let me know now while I'm putting the link in. now I think you can see my screen. طبعا الفيديو طويل 8 دقائق. I'll just let you watch the first 2 or 3 minutes to it. طبعا في له explanation about neuromuscular junction, how it's actually happen, with illustration أو فيديو بعض الأحيان you would get the idea that pictures.
Cell is called a neuromuscular junction. Skeletal muscle cells are electrically insulated from each other by endomysium. In order for skeletal muscle cells to contract, each cell must be stimulated by a process of a motor neuron. Each motor neuron is a single nerve cell extending from the brain or spinal cord to the muscle. Within the axon terminal are synaptic vesicles containing the neurotransmitter acetylcholine. Notice that at the neuromuscular junction, the motor neuron and the sarcolemma of the muscle cell do not actually touch. The synaptic cleft is the space between the axon terminal, the general name for the muscle cell membrane. As reservoir, the plus and minus to the axon terminal. The calcium ions cause several synaptic vesicles.
Oh, you couldn't hear me. So I don't think you can hear it, but it just give you everything clearly through positive and negative والvoltage وhow synaptic happen. I will show a clip على condition. There is another link if you want to look at synaptic اللي هي المembrane أو عفوا neuromuscular junction. But we're going to talk. We're going to show how the condition impact, how it looks clinically.
Classification of disease. What is myasthenia gravis?
Myasthenia
Translated,
gravis,
it means grave muscle weakness,
which is grave
and it's a
muscle
chronic
weakness.
autoimmune neuromuscular disease. That's a bit of a mouthful, so I'll break it down so that you can better understand its meaning. First is chronic, which describes an illness that lasts for a long period of time or is reoccurring but not always fatal. Next is autoimmune. Autoimmune disease is when the body's immune system mistakenly attacks healthy parts of the body. Neuromuscular tells you what part of the body the immune system is accidentally attacking. So, put it all together, and myasthenia gravis is a long-term disease in which the immune system is attacking the muscle's neurotransmitters. Occurrence of disease. Myasthenia gravis can occur in any ethnic group, at any age, and in both genders, although it's more common in young women under the age of 40 and in older males over the age of 60. Even a newborn can have a case of neonatal myasthenia gravis if the mother has the disease, but symptoms will disappear in 2 to 3 months after birth. But myasthenia gravis in children is uncommon. Fortunately, myasthenia gravis is not inherited or contagious. Approximately 20 out of 100,000 people have been diagnosed in the U.S., although it is believed to be underdiagnosed. Signs and symptoms. Myasthenia gravis affects voluntary muscles, which are the muscles in your body that you can control. They're also known as your skeletal muscles and include your legs, arms, and facial muscles.
Actually affect everything.
If you can think of moving it, and it does, then it's a voluntary muscle. But the muscle that controls swallowing, facial expression, and the eye are most commonly affected. So a drooping eye, slurred speech, or difficulty breathing can be symptoms. Other symptoms include blurred or double vision, weakness in arms and legs, changes in facial expression, unable to hold a steady gaze,
كلها هذه من
and like I
الsymptoms.
said, difficult breathing. Myasthenia gravis poses a greater risk if it affects the breathing muscles, such as the diaphragm and the external and internal
Okay, so we'll
intercostal
stop
muscles.
here.
Because this
We stopped here. If there is no further question, we can finish and stop here, and I will not the cardio, it affect the respiratory muscles. It affect actually your breathing because if it affects the cardio muscle, if the heart stop, you die. But breathing with difficulty breathing, that's mean the rib cage and the surrounding muscle and the respiratory system will be affected, and it does affect the muscles surrounding the rib cage, usually muscles around it. That's why you would have difficulty breathing in and out. While swallowing لأنه في muscles في swallowing. The same with the vision لأنه في muscles around the eye socket. That's but it does not cause blindness أو مشاكل في الجهاز الهضمي لأنه هذه ما هي muscles. Yeah, if there are any other questions, إن شاء الله الأسايمنت واضح، كل شيء واضح. Hopefully everything going well with you through the semester. If there is no other question, you can please feel free to leave. بس عندي I know إنه جروب، لكن الجروب الميل اللي معاي في الريسيرش جروب please send me an email. Okay. فقط جروب الريسيرش الميل. Send me an email علشان أعرف أسميكم ومين أنتم. I think I have one group فقط. فجروب الميل just send واحد منكم مرسل لي ايميل من الجروب. enjoy your long weekend and I will see you next Monday إن شاء الله. Good luck.